funny how a melody can bring back a memory. 'Cause 1,000 memories can't be wrong.
Welcome to Country Music Memories. I'm Bob Grebe. Thank you again for stopping by. This is the second part of my back-to-back episodes with country duo Wilson Fairchild. If you haven't listened to part one, go ahead and check that out first. Or don't. It's a free country. Do what you want. Will and Langdon Reed are a talented, traditional country duo, and they are really fun to be around. Check out their music in all the digital platforms, iTunes, Pandora, YouTube, etc., etc. And they're online, wilsonfairchild.com. If you did listen to part one, you don't need much of a setup here. We took a break, and I was explaining off mic that I really do not like gimmick songs, especially from talented artists who don't really need them, like Trace Adkins. And then I hit record, and we jumped right in.
Chrome.
Test.
Chrome.
Let me tell you where Toby Keith and I...
He's pointing at us again, Will. Are
That's
we in
fine.
trouble?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Bob? Is this a podcast or therapy? I can't tell.
A lot of
sometimes.
both.
Okay.
I'm angry. I'm angry is something that I love.
I know. You are passionate about it.
Well, nobody appreciates this more than me and Langdon.
Yes. You've come to the
go
right
ahead.
therapist.
Tell us what you need to tell us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's where Toby Keith and I left paths. And
Hey, and to catch people up, we were talking off the mic about where did you think country music went off and left you?
I said 2004.
Okay. And I thought you were pretty accurate with that also.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's when 90s country, in my mind, ended. And the current generation of music.
Hey, and just
started.
to tie in Will and Langdon, that is dead on at the timeline because 2003 is when we came out with our traditional independent label record.
Of Circles
And
is the name of it.
Looking back, it was really good, but looking back, it was the wrong timing for what was getting ready to happen in country music.
There you go.
So
which was
now,
gimmick songs,
exactly.
which drive me insane. So Toby Keith had a whole bunch of good songs.
Mm-hmm.
He Ain't Worth Missing, Should Have Been a Cowboy, Who's That Man?
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes out with How Do You Like Me Now? Now, country music,
Did you not like that song? I'm
going to tell you why.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay.
And I still don't.
Okay.
There's a lot of country
How
music
do you like
songs.
me now? Now that
Go
I'm
ahead.
on
I'm
my
sorry.
way.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. How do you like me now? Or go ahead.
There's so many country songs where you have the dad who's cleaning his gun, right?
Right.
Sure.
While the young teenage boy comes to take out the daughter.
Right.
That's a really popular narrative in country music, if you haven't noticed.
Sure.
Okay? You're taking out my daughter.
Right.
He writes a song. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say he wrote it. I don't know. I don't know who wrote
Probably
that song.
Scotty Emmerich, but go ahead.
He wrote a lot of them with him, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The narrative of that song is, hey, this girl won't go out with me, so I'm going to write her name and phone number, and for a good time, call her on the 50-yard line of a football field. And if that doesn't impress her, well, the hell with her. How do you like me now? In the culture of you're supposed to respect young women, he's writing her name and saying for a good time, and that didn't do it for her. So that's her tough luck.
Right. That's horrible. Yes.
That's
But
like
the guitar break is really good in that song.
But the for a good time is what you had a problem with, right? That it was not realistic or it was disrespectful. I just want to make sure I
that
understand.
he was mad. It irritated him.
That was his revenge, is what made you upset about that.
No, that he was still carrying a grudge after he becomes a star,
Oh.
Okay.
after he disrespected her.
Gotcha. Because what you're
Man.
saying is she shouldn't have gone out with him to start with.
And
Who
she
would?
did.
What
Right.
self-respecting woman's going to go out with a guy who wrote for a good time, call
Right.
whatever?
Right.
No, you're
Why
right.
would she have?
No, exactly. Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
But that song was a huge hit.
It was.
And people love it. Mm-hmm. But they also love the songs about the dad who's cleaning the gun in front of the kid who takes out the daughter.
This is deep.
It is, man.
This is, but so true. It's deep.
We're talking mixed messages here.
Yes.
It is. And he's thought about it a lot more than we have.
All right, Bob. Just breathe, okay? It's okay.
They're just songs.
Yeah.
They're just songs.
Yes.
No, there's songs about real life and real situations.
But you're right about the 04, 05 thing is where it went in a whole different direction.
Why? It had a really good run.
It did.
It had 15 years. 89 to 2004 was a really good run.
Yeah. I guess.
Right.
Hey, that is a really good run. I wonder if another.
I mean, was it that like Garth was getting up there in age, Alan was getting up there in age, Clint was getting up there in age, and they just, by the way, they did a tribute show to George Strait sometime in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Like where he was sitting in the audience in a theater, and every act got up and did one of George's songs.
Right.
Including Kenny Chesney did a fantastic Amarillo by Morning. Not as good as the one that the three of us did.
Not as good as yours.
Not as that, right. Where we forgot
Not
the
that
words.
one.
And stuff. Right.
Exactly.
But it was really good.
Really good.
Those shows are typically for guys who are done.
Right.
15 years later, he's still putting out hits. Yeah. He wasn't done. Were they trying to tell him, George, you're done?
Yeah, or like, move over. And he said, no.
Make room for the rest of us.
Right.
And he said, no, there's only one place on this throne. It's for me for now.
I don't understand why it changed. It was awesome. 90s country was awesome. It was still good in the early 2000s.
And I wonder if it changed. Is that the industry? Is that the executives looking for something new and
listen,
fresh?
I know every decade, historically, up until the 2000s, every decade has had a different sound, no matter what the genre is.
That's right.
Yeah.
50s rock and roll compared to 60s, compared to 70s, compared to 80s to 90s and whatever. Every single decade had a different sound. And it was probably time for 90s country to turn into something else. But why did it turn into this?
Yeah.
Gimmick songs.
And along with what we said earlier, the technology changed everything. Then back to Nashville, to record labels, making it what they wanted. They had the technology to make artists out of people that weren't artists. Why did that ever happen? It did. But it's like,
there's plenty of talented people. Why are we taking ones that don't have talent?
Right.
Is it because,
Right.
Is it the difference between The Voice, where they have their backs turned and are just listening, versus American Idol, where when you think of an idol, you think of a matinee idol, you think of, it's a package.
That's right.
It's a sound, it's a look.
Yes.
It's a whole marketing team.
Right.
Where The Voice is
Just the
you
voice.
can either sing or you can't.
Right. Along with that, before we get off of it, because it made me think of this when you were talking about 90s country music, and within the last few days, somebody had posted this on Facebook, and the Tennessean out of Nashville said, a quote, talking about the class of 89, their distinctive voices and nuanced music showed the world there was more to country music than overalls and tobacco spit.
I love tobacco spit in a.
So a friend of
piece.
mine tore that up.
Are we talking about Dickies or are we talking about Liberty when we're talking overalls?
I think Liberty.
right.
No, but
I
what-
think
like what
Liberty.
brand?
I would
Liberty,
say
right?
Liberty.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And a friend of ours said, "Are you kidding? Their music may have moved the needle to more pop rock vein, bringing new listeners to the genre, but country music was hardly overalls and tobacco spit before '89." My point is, that's Nashville. That's how clueless somebody is about even writing about that era.
And that's making the decisions and pushing the music one way or the other.
But you know what? Back to the Statler Brothers. The Statler Brothers felt like they brought something to the genre to bring a classiness to it, to bring the nostalgia and bring respect to it. That saying country music shouldn't have to take a backseat. Why all these years has it taken a backseat to rock music? Why is rock music superior to country music? But that's exactly where that was coming from in the Tennessean. Think about what country music was to 1989, and they referred to it as overalls and tobacco spit.
stereotypes are a great time saver. And that person clearly was writing on a deadline,
Right.
if that's what they're comparing it to.
Right.
Yes.
When I talked with Billy Dean, he said the music he grew up with in the 70s did not exist anymore. And that was part of the reason why he did We Just Disagree. Garth did Shameless. That, not to say yacht rock, which I know we love.
Love yacht rock radio.
Yes.
It's awesome.
It is.
But that stuff had its
It
time.
just discontinued. They just shut down.
They just shut down.
Their
And
season's
then-
over. But go ahead.
But those people still listen to music. They were looking for something. And Billy Dean was like, hey, in the 90s, you could kind of hear some of those same songs and maybe like the other stuff. And you found it in country because rock wasn't giving it to you because it was Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Right.
right.
You know, like pop music didn't even exist because there were so many different silos at that time.
Yes.
So people just gravitated towards country music. And that's why it exploded. That's why it became, instead of just a Southern thing, it became a national phenomenon.
That's right. And it's amazing how all those genres then intertwined. But you're right with the change of rock music in the 90s. Country accepted the pop, and then again after the 2004 to now, what country music has become, which I don't have a problem with. You know, I don't really listen to it. I really don't relate to it. And it's a huge industry. You know, it's a big deal, but you know, sometimes I think about what Langdon and I do, which is very traditional. That's just what we gravitate to, and with a guitar and the way we strum a guitar, the way we pick a guitar, or the way we approach writing a song. You know, even when we've tried to think outside of the box or push the limits to the way we think it should be, it's not that far from the traditional way that we hear it.
Well, your sensibilities from the 90s and what you were writing, are you going back to any of those songs?
Interestingly enough, yes. So then we realized recently, like within the last year, that a lot of those songs that we were writing when we were inspired to write, there was no distractions. We just were writing songs. You know, these are songs that either the publishing companies told us they were no good, or the record label said, you know, go do it again, or the booking agent said somebody else needs to be writing them. Now we've realized that we're Wilson Fairchild and we have our own following on Facebook and our own following on YouTube, and we're booking our own shows. We're bringing some of those songs back out of the folder, and like, we don't need anybody's approval. We just put it out there for our fans, and if they like them, then they like them. So yeah, we're have the opportunity now to bring that stuff back when we didn't have social media the first time around.
And a lot of it's that kind of. I remember listening to Coffee House, I think is one of the stations on radio, and those independent labels, and those people are just saying, you know what, I don't care necessarily if you like my song or not, but I'm going to put it out there because I believe in it and I can sell it. And by selling it means, you know, if you believe in it, then it's more believable that way. So I'll go over to the Coffee House station and listen to that. And it's really interesting because I admire those people for what they're doing, because they write the song and they believe in it. And if I don't like it, I just go on. But that's kind of where we are now is, you know, this is our stuff and it's what we believe in. And when you sing it and then people come up to you and say, that was really cool, that relates to me. I get it. I understand it. Or like, well, then it is good.
Right.
You know, it does have life. It does have a purpose there. So instead of trying to chase, again, what somebody else is looking for you to do, you know, you're sitting across the desk and then, you know, you got somebody else with some money and power saying, no, you know, somebody else needs to be writing it, or you need to change the way you look, and you need to get a nose ring, and you need to get a neck tattoo, and then that's what they want to see. And you're like, no, I don't want to sell my soul to the devil yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to sing this song that we wrote and we were inspired by, honestly, and we want to sing it for you and put some harmony to it and a cool guitar break. And more people than not appreciate that, especially in today's time, by looking back on this very conversation and the purpose for this podcast.
Right.
In that, you know, the 90s country music in particular, you know, we're all sitting here saying we love the 70s era. We grew up on 80s music. But again, the prime of our the good years and our, high school and college years were in the 90s, and that was one of the main reasons that we wanted to continue to be in country music. And so now it's 2019. I don't know what to think.
One thing we didn't cover, but real quickly, I want you to know, before we got our independent record deal and we had a guy that said, yes, I want y'all to do your traditional stuff because that's what you do, and I think there's a place for it, we cut a lot of demos that sounded like a boy band. Boy bands were huge in the late 90s, so we could do it. So we did. We went in and cut these demos on stuff we had written, and sang falsetto and stacked some parts, and so we've got stuff that does not sound like Wilson Fairchild at all.
I need to hear that.
But we shopped it around.
I remember one of our first ones, song called "Unlove You," and it's funny because you can hear us talking, and by our singing, we have these baritone vocal cords. That's who we are.
Right.
But I remember with that song in particular, I sang it and we put it at the top of my range.
Yeah.
Where it's almost kind of breathy sounding. And he sang harmony underneath of me, but then also went back and put in the Bee Gees background vocals. He was singing falsetto to give it that boy band sound.
Yeah.
And if you heard it today, you're like, I don't know. I give up. Who is this singing?
Oh, yeah.
You would never think it's us.
But it was just us
We had
trying to do what we thought we should be doing, going around labels and pitching it and saying, hey, if they like it, we can do that.
Right. We were comfortable with pushing the envelope. I hate that saying, but we were comfortable enough with pushing it that way. Now, again, there's been plenty of other things that people say we need to sound like or look like that we're like, no, this meeting's over. So, anyway.
I would love to one time just go, this meeting's over.
Right.
I've never felt like I've had the power in any situation ever in my entire life where I could just go, this meeting's over.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. That's right. Being on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, George Dukas now has a song out called Unlove You.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It might be our song. Did he go?
I hope it is.
Did you sing?
It's actually
falsetto
really
on it?
good.
I didn't tell George Dukas he could do it. I did have his CD though. I loved that his record.
He's really good.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what
he
he is? He is the combination of Brad Paisley, Dwight Yoakam, and Red Akins.
Yes.
I literally picked apart like 9 of his songs the other night. Because what else am I going to do? I have a wife and 3 kids. What am I going to sit and listen to George Dukas's new music?
Oh, it's
and
not-
listen to his
It's
old?
not like you have a real job.
No.
You're just an anchor man.
No,
Right.
but he literally is. And I love all 3 of those guys. So
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I was thinking Yoakum a little bit ago. There's a guy who gets overlooked a lot, I think.
Were you a Dwight Yoakam fan?
Yeah. You know what? It took me a little bit, just like you were saying
Yeah.
previously about Garth Brooks. It took you a while to get into it.
Yeah.
It took me a while with Dwight.
Yeah, I love Dwight, and I still do. But one thing that was a contributing factor is when he first hit the scene, they did an article on him in a country music magazine, and he listed 4 of his big influences, and the Statler brothers were one of them. So of course that got our attention. Like, are you kidding me? Dwight Yoakam knows who our dads are.
Right.
We were coming at it from a totally different place. But
that is one highly intelligent weird dude.
you think he's intelligent?
Yes.
That's not what I heard from that girl he dated.
Go on.
She
We're
said
talking about Dwight, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She said he was like dating a dirt sandwich. Is what she said. Sharon Stone. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. But I don't know either one of them.
Well,
so
she was a little better at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
My thing about Dwight Yoakam was
Dirt
a
sand.
friend of mine. Her
Glowing review, isn't it? Sorry.
I'm going to have to look up at. Was it in a Rolling Stone magazine article? Probably.
Yeah, it could have been. I remember that.
A friend of mine, her mom was into Dwight Yoakam because she liked the way he looked in his incredibly tight jeans,
Right.
and that just irritated me. Like, I want to hear music. I don't care about what dude
Right.
looks like in jeans. So that kind of turned me off
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
Well,
Yeah,
I
he
can see
didn't. He didn't tight jean for you, but but we were kind of eat up with the Pete Anderson electric Telecaster guitar stuff. He made his mark. He didn't sound like anybody else.
Right.
He still doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
And
know.
a heck of an actor, too, by the way.
Oh, he is.
He was in Sling Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I just finished watching an Amazon Prime TV series called Goliath with Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
And we love Billy Bob Thornton. And just when I didn't think that this show could get any better, Dwight shows up.
I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, I love those two. It's it's incredible just to watch both of them.
By the way, I'm
you
never going to interview Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay.
And if I did, all he would want to talk about is his music. I'm sure you've seen that YouTube video.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
You
is
talking about shutting this meeting down?
Oh, yes.
Well, he did.
We didn't say he wasn't eccentric.
Yeah.
But, entertaining to say the least. Yeah.
It's funny. Isn't it funny to see actors do what you all do? Like Kevin Bacon, he and his brother, they're the Bacon brothers,
Yeah.
with no ego whatsoever. Go and they'll play the Harvester in Rocky Mount,
Yeah.
in Franklin County, Virginia. Like you're Kevin Bacon. You are literally 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You are Kevin Bacon.
Right.
I don't
It
even
doesn't get
need
any
6
closer.
degrees. You're right there.
You're playing a 300-seat theater
Yeah.
in
Russell
Franklin
Crowe does
County.
it too, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't even understand how that all works. Kiefer Sutherland does it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I think it probably goes back to that thing that we always want to be doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no matter how successful or good you are at something,
You're right.
there's a little person inside of all of us that thinks, yeah, but I would really like to be doing this. So,
Hey,
I don't know.
You know what? That story happens over and over again, as you're saying. And one that comes to mind is Merle Haggard. So after Merle Haggard's story, he ended up in prison. He got out of prison. He ends up being Merle Haggard with an incredible voice, good songwriter. Up and down, crazy career, personal life. He's got his own story, but he's still Merle Haggard, right? Well, I saw him in an interview later in life one time, and he thought of himself as a guitar player.
Yep.
The band would literally stand on stage and watch him because they knew he was going to take a guitar break, and they had to stay out of his way. But it's like, are you kidding me?
That was his goal. I read his autobiography, and that's what he talked about.
Really?
When he got the lead guitar player gig for the band he was in, he was like, I was done. I was ready to hang it up. But that's what he.
And no level of success changed that. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Well, we spent a day one time with Jerry Reed, who we dearly love.
Hell of a truck driver. Have you seen him behind the
The
wheel?
snowman.
Absolutely. We do have his cell number.
We the snowman. So we spent a day with him one time, and that was fascinating. But just spend a day with him after being an actor, the snowman, all the hit records, all the Amos Moses, everything that he'd written and played, and one of the best guitar players that's ever lived. That's all he thought of himself as a guitar player. Forget the acting, forget the singing, forget the incredible songwriting and how he could put rhymes together. He was just a guitar player.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be 5 minutes late getting here today because I was going to throw a hamburger down my neck.
Then you didn't eat lunch?
Throw
No.
some groceries down your neck.
Is that what it was? I
Throw
can't
some
remember the
gro-
line. It's groceries down my
Getting
neck.
thin
right?
in the skin, Fred. Stop. Put some groceries down my neck.
But he did.
Got in a fight. How'd you do? About like always. All right, so
Classic.
before we hit record, I was in the middle of telling you guys a story
Oh, yeah?
about Toby Keith. And how I used to really like Toby Keith. And then he changed and became really disrespectful to women.
Okay. I do remember this.
Pointing at us
I
again,
do
Will.
remember this.
I love it.
Yeah, because
What happened, Bob?
Okay. Let me paint the picture for you. It's February 1994. Philadelphia Spectrum doesn't exist anymore.
You're a Philly guy, too.
Yeah.
You grew up there?
Yes.
All right.
40 minutes outside Philly.
Okay.
Reba McEntire is the headliner. John Michael Montgomery is the middle act. Faith Hill's the opener. I'm not going to say I was obsessed with Faith Hill because people get
well, it's
little
a harsh
fanatical.
word. You were a big fan.
Very big fan.
Very big fan.
I think I used the word smitten one time.
Right.
I wanted to see Faith Hill. I mean, yeah, clearly Reba and John Michael Monkey.
Right.
Right. I mean, they were there.
They were there.
I
too.
call him John Michael Monkey, by the way. I just think it's funny.
It
That's-
is funny.
That's
You're allowed to do that.
that's okay.
So we're waiting after the concert. Faith Hill is signing autographs in the concourse level. For like an hour and a half, we're waiting in line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing a silk jacket
Silk was in.
because it was 1994.
Right.
Like Don Johnson.
Stonewash jeans
type
or what?
thing.
Do we have stonewashed on or acid?
Not sure. They were probably Bugle Boy.
Right.
Did you guys have Bugle Boy down here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff Chess King.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't shop there though.
Okay.
I was more of a
Benetton? You were Benetton.
no. I was more of a county seat guy.
Okay.
Okay.
I got you.
Remember county seat?
Yes.
You get those shirts,
Yeah.
like the rugby shirts, and you
Yeah.
wash them one time, and half the color would be gone. They'd be all faded and washed out.
That's right.
So I get up there. There's Faith Hill. Faith Hill
Right there.
is sitting right there.
Mm-hmm.
I go. I pay the $2 or whatever for the 8x10. She signs the thing, and I ask her if she would go to the prom with me. And she goes, "That is so sweet. When is it?" Now I'm 17.
Okay.
I have no expectation whatsoever. I just thought I'm going to be clever and say, "Go to the prom with me,"
Right.
because it's 1994. That's an important part of the story.
Right. February.
She goes, "Well, when is it?" And I go, June 3rd or something. Some dude with a ponytail, some handler of hers in a tour jacket, came over and is like, "She's busy." I literally, 17-year-old me, looked at the guy and goes, "I didn't think she would go." That was the end of my experience with Faith Hill. The next month, I meet what would become my wife and ask her to go to the prom with me, and we've been together ever since.
Wow. So you're thankful
all right, but
to the
here's-
guy in the ponytail and the
Here's
tour
why.
jacket.
Evidently.
Here's why I'm still pointing at you.
Okay.
That was 1994. What happened in like 96 or 97? Shelley Wright went to the prom with some kid.
Right.
And like every other star since then has
Yeah.
been asked to proms
Yes.
on social media and actually goes.
you
Professional athletes have done it.
you started the precedent. Is that what you're telling us?
You
You're the guy.
I got shot down by a guy with a ponytail
right.
Right.
in a satin tour jacket.
Bowling jacket.
I'm gonna flip this desk over.
Oh my gosh. But but it kind of just feels real though that it didn't happen so that you could take your wife to prom.
It was probably meant to be because then,
Yes.
like in '98, she
You
goes on
should
tour.
have had the ponytail guy as like your best man.
That could have been.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That would have really brought everything back home.
What a toast speech that would have been by the guy from the ponytail at the
Yeah,
wedding.
Right. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your wife was like, "Who is this guy?"
But like, you fast forward to '98. I think it was '98. Faith Hill goes on the Spontaneous Combustion tour with Tim McGraw.
Mm-hmm.
She was engaged to Scott something or other, Scott Hendrick.
Hendrick.
Yeah. And then she goes on tour with Tim, and that's the end of that relationship.
Right.
And they've been together ever since.
Ponytail didn't shut that down.
That's right.
Did not.
Mm-mm.
Did not.
No.
I saw them in concert,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell something was going on. You could tell. I mean,
Yeah.
you literally could just see them singing,
Yeah.
looking in the eye.
Right. So do you think Tim asked her to go to prom, or was it it was over by then? Probably past prom.
Probably.
I would think.
Yeah, past prom. It was past prom. No big deal. Yeah.
Could have been. Could have been.
Could have been a cowboy. Could have been you.
As a matter of fact, I
Shoulda
sang.
been
Uh-huh.
me. How
I-
you like me now?
No, I was not singing How Do You
Oh,
Like
no.
Me Now? I was
Yeah.
actually singing Should Have Been a Cowboy while waiting in line
For Faith.
to meet Faith.
Yeah.
Were you just
Full
singing,
circle.
or people were singing with you?
No, my buddy Matt Eichert and I were singing.
Okay.
Now, you guys know I can sing.
I
Right.
do.
He cannot,
Mm-hmm.
but he thinks he can.
Oh, there's nothing
I know
worse
that
than
guy.
one of those guys.
Yeah. That's all right. He's happy, isn't he?
And he sings really loud too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
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 I've never been that guy, but I feel bad for that guy.
Right.
Right. Because we all know one of those guys.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And those
I
guys
just
are
happened
the
to be
worst.
working with that guy.
What?
What? Wait a minute.
That
Wait
was
a minute.
Langdon.
What?
What did you say, Langdon?
Have we solved all of the problems in country music?
Not yet.
Okay.
When have you all been starstruck?
That's a great question.
So
I'm thinking is
of all the years, we've gotten to meet some really famous people through our dads when we were kids. Number one, 4th of July celebration in Stanton, when big country music artists would come to town. And then during the 90s that we're talking about, they had the number one show on TNN for 7 years. So when they would go down to tape TV, we'd try to get down there and just be there and hang out.
hang out in the hallways and
yeah.
the dressing rooms. And
So we got to meet a lot of cool people then. So in that light, we weren't starstruck because we saw a lot of cool people that were starstruck when they met our dads. One in particular was Alan Jackson.
Really? That's a great equalizer, isn't it?
It was really cool. I mean, he was fresh on the scene, and so he was just as shy and bashful as everybody knows he is, except when he's on at the microphone singing and playing. But oh my gosh, he was introverted almost. When he met our dads, he was so in awe of them. Again, that they were a huge inspiration to him. I would say the only time that I've really been starstruck was the first time I met Johnny Cash.
Well, that'll do it.
And that was
'Cause it's
totally
Johnny Cash.
That was totally by accident, by the way, and that was not associated with our dads. I happened to be at an airport that he happened to be at, and I got up the nerve to go introduce myself because of I knew of obviously the relationship in the past that he had with the Statler brothers years ago, but I almost couldn't speak in front of him. That's one person in particular that I can think of that it was just really strange.
Yeah.
I guess the amount of respect and all that.
I guess it's not to say starstruck. It's just odd to see people outside of the arena that you put them in. Like people always
Yeah.
say that, like, oh, you look different in person. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a lot sweatier.
right.
That's kind of how I put it.
Sweatier. I'm sweatier. Yeah.
I love it when people tell me, oh, you're a lot thinner in person. What do I look like on TV then?
What does that mean?
Because I'm not skinny in person. Like
Skinnier.
you're
That's
like
different.
you're like a skinny Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
That's actually a line from Family Guy
Okay.
from like 20 years ago.
Okay. That's funny.
You're like a skinny Garth Brooks.
Oh my gosh.
By the way, but it was a teenage girl saying it to Peter Griffin's son, Chris, who's clearly overweight. So the fact that she called him a skinny Garth Brooks when he was fat is
even more so.
the really,
Yeah.
really funny punchline.
Right. Right.
Did we touch on anything that I sent you
Previously,
via direct message on Facebook? I sent you like 4 topics I wanted to talk about. I don't think we talked about any of them.
I don't even. I blocked you.
Did you even look?
I blocked your
Did you
messages.
block me?
Yeah, I've ignored you.
I'm sorry.
So
That's rude.
you go straight to spam. So I don't know.
I don't know how long your podcasts are, but we could certainly do it again. If we didn't cover the topics.
All right,
Certainly we
let me
did.
ask you this, because you participated in it, but you were also fans of it. How do you think the music changed throughout the decade of? Well, we'll just start with '89 because that's where the class of '89 started. Till 2004, when we have just decided that's the end.
We deemed it right here.
Yeah.
Could you feel the change coming? The shift?
We
mean,
talk
I could
about Achy Breaky Heart in there somewhere or what?
That was 90s
Well, I mean-
too, though.
That was not, but there was the dance in the middle. There was a lot of one-hit wonders and dance specific, like the Tractors and So I feel like the middle of the decade was the dance era, and then toward the end, like Kenny Chesney started singing like actual real country, and then by the end of the decade, it was all about being 16 or being on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
He turned, Toby Keith turned. I don't know.
As a whole, after the 2004-2005 time period, I think my biggest beef with the industry is the songwriting went to the toilet. That there was
went to the dogs.
It
who
went
threw it
to
up
the
in the toilet.
dogs. Yeah, I mean, it was all party songs. It's all party music.
It was all beer.
It's all beer and the
tailgate
truck and the girl and now let's try to get a cuss word in the song. Let's
Yeah,
get at
that'd
least
be
one
cool.
in. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
that's
And it was
awesome.
bad enough when the first guy did it, but then 10 songs later, it's like, are you kidding me? Langdon and I would have discussions all the time. It's like, I'm glad we're not in Nashville. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't put my name on that. So yeah, we have integrity
But it's got to be real. I mean,
I don't
even
mind-
if you're going to tell a story or go to a sensitive subject,
yeah,
or
I
even
don't mind
cuss
pushing the
somebody,
limits to be creative.
It's got to be real. But it's so contrived. You can feel that it was so
Formulaic. It's formulaic.
Yeah.
Now to where like okay, it's just so planned and
Yeah.
it's not. Again, it takes the realism and the reality away from it.
And that's not across the board. There have been some good songs, even if I don't care for them, some good songs that have made it through. But and we have a songwriting buddy who had some success, but he even said, you know what, to survive in that environment, he said, I still every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when I go and sit down in a writing room, I'm still trying to write the best song I can write.
Mm-hmm.
And the best idea. Sadly, those songs are probably in the folder.
Have you heard his latest one?
Which one?
Monsters
Huh?
with Eric Church.
Oh yeah, I haven't.
It's who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Jeff.
mm-hmm.
Pretty darn good.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, he's a great songwriter.
Great songwriter.
Great songwriter. But still, and he worked hard to get where he's at. But still, maybe it's always been that way. That you can't predict a hit. You can't try to write a hit. But if you go in every day like he did and say, I'm going to try to write the best song I can write and it's better than the last one I wrote, that's what it's all about. And if you get 5 hit records out of 300 that you wrote, I guess that's pretty good.
That's one thing we always, if we wrote a song, give me a topic or a subject, if we sit down with you, or say he and I would sit down and write a song about mowing the grass, okay? That's the name of the song. And then the next week I would get with you and you and I would start writing a song. And you're like, hey, I got an idea let's write a song about mowing the grass. Well, we would say, no, I've already written that. I'm going to stay away from it. I don't even want to use that in a line in a song. I want to be that respectful to what I've already written. And I don't want to repeat myself. But that's not what the writers have been doing and still do. They'll go into that writing room and they'll write 10 songs about mowing the grass. And hopefully one of them gets heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And hopefully their odds are better. So that's part of the formula now, to where he and I have talked each other out of so many good ideas. Looking back on it, that whether it's a title or an idea, and we'll say no, it's too much like something our dads may have written, 40 years ago, or there's another. Actually, that was on the B side of a Mo Bandy single. I don't want to step on that guy's toes.
Right.
So we'll stay away from an idea if we can think of a song that it's already there. But that's not the case now. Now
And it hadn't been for a long time.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We talked ourselves out of a lot of songs we should have written.
Yeah.
I've never written a song.
Mm-hmm.
How does it begin? Is it a line? Is it a title?
It can be
Is it a
anything.
theme? What?
All that.
Yeah.
Something
And it could be the music too.
something that's clever, something that's different, something that you think is going to touch somebody. But as a writer, you just constantly keep notes down. Back in a time period in those late 90s when he and I had written a successful song together that was really good, that was our inspiration to keep doing it. So then when we get together, we didn't use a formula. We just wrote what we were inspired to write.
I'm showing you right here on my phone. Mm-hmm. In my notes section, there's the heading is song ideas. Just lines, ideas, anything that may come to me if you and I are sitting here talking through this podcast, something that you may say, I'm going to write it down right there. And maybe I can use it as a line. Maybe I can use it as an inspiration to write something else.
Yeah.
But we've written songs every way possible. Melody first, words first, without instruments, just with a title. Sometimes we've sitting together and both of our names are on a song and he's written every line, but I was still there to talk it out and inspire every line he came up with. So, I still get credit for it. I'm just saying it's not about, and the worst thing you can do when you co-write with somebody is to sit down and fight for lines just because you want to make sure that you're contributing somehow.
Right.
So you're going to be like, well,
you still, whether it's two people or three people, you still have to agree, this is the best line. Doesn't matter who wrote it.
We're
Doesn't
here
matter
for the
who
sake
said
of the
it.
song. We're not
Yeah.
here to see how many lines I can get in here.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did your songwriting change? I mean, obviously life experience is going to just naturally give you different material to pull from.
Sure.
But I imagine your taste and sensibilities in music has changed in the last 20 years as well. So, did you write dance songs when line dancing and two-stepping was hot? I mean, were you trying to fill that, hit one of those?
No, maybe
or?
we should have. Maybe we should have, but no, we didn't think of it like that. And I think it's where we came from. And our dad's songwriting and our dad's music. We always wrote for the sake of the song. Back to, we told you we recorded things that sounded like boy bands. I guess then we were trying to write outside of the box. We were trying to write something commercial or something that we thought that radio would take to, as a launching pad. But for the most part, everything we've ever written, we get excited about the idea.
What was the look like? Were you going to do Frosted Tips? Because 99, 2000...
No, we didn't go that far.
We didn't get there.
Because even Roger Clemens in 2000 had Frosted Tips. That was the look.
Right.
If Roger Clemens
Right.
So no, we didn't
could
get
have
to
Frosted Tips,
Hey,
you
let
are
me-
not above it.
Let me say, if Sony or BMG would have said, "Yeah, we want this,"
Yeah.
and here's what the look is, would we have went for it? Maybe,
Oh, no.
maybe,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's what we were recording the music.
Yeah.
We were saying we can do this type of music if you want it, but no, we never got to whether we were going to frost our hair or not. But not because we wanted to. Yeah. But that's the trap you get caught in.
Now we're all just lucky enough to have hair to...
That's right.
Yeah.
But seriously, that's the trap you get caught in the music business. Is you're desperately you've put your heart and soul into this. This is what you're trying to do. So then, if you get to that level where Sony says, we're going to invest all these millions of dollars in you to make you a big star, well, you asked for it, so you're going to frost your hair or not?
You gonna follow through?
Yeah,
You've come this far.
that's right.
Get the tips.
So in some ways, we're blessed that didn't happen.
Yeah.
An hour and a half ago, we talked about Michael Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, there's another song, From Here to Eternity.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was the other song. And you know why I thought of that? I thought of it because you mentioned BMG. And it made me think of getting Columbia House 12
CDs for a penny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got
I'm
his,
still paying on that.
Right? How do you get out? How do you get out?
Right.
Let me out.
That's as bad as a timeshare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Michael Peterson, Drink, Swear, Steal, and Lie, and Here to Eternity were the two hit songs on that cassette tape.
Good songs.
Yep.
They were, yeah.
And again, what we talked about back in the day, so it was a major label and two major hits that got him there. But once the label drops you and you don't have social media and everybody's not carrying a smartphone, you're done.
I can
Where'd
tell you
you
another
go?
another good song he had. The third one. Too Good to Be True to You. You remember that?
No.
Yeah.
Was it a radio hit?
I don't have to look and see how far it went up, but it was another good one. It's not. Something about the line was too good to be true. No, she's just too good to be true to you. It's good stuff.
It is. That's a good line.
Good line. Great song, by the way.
How many songs do you think
714.
Probably.
I was going to
at
go
least
622.
714 Babe Ruth.
Right.
And I literally thought today that Garth Brooks is the Babe Ruth of country music.
That's Hank Aaron, though, wasn't it?
What's that?
714.
No, he had
53 something.
744. Anyway, 755, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, the point being, Babe Ruth wasn't the best baseball player ever. He's just he's a great player, most famous player of all time. You could argue all the, but George Strait, right? Am I wrong?
About what? George Strait being what? The best
The
ever?
best, the king of country music,
Oh, I don't
modern country music.
Modern,
Why don't we
okay.
put it that way?
Modern. That's arguable. Yeah, that's you could.
Who are you
accurately say
arguing?
that. No, I'm saying arguably you could say that.
But who would argue it? Will, you going to argue
Yeah, I'll argue with that.
as far as being modern?
the modern age of country music?
And I'm sure Garth would give him that title. You think that he'd be over Garth?
That's the obvious one that comes up.
I didn't
To me,
say
they're-
what you
they're-
personally wanted.
No. What I'm saying is they're two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Garth Brooks is like a rocket ship that gets on a stage and puts on a fantastic show and does have some great songs and does have a good voice.
Yeah.
And then you have George Strait, who stands in the same spot for 2 hours and just puts out song after song after song after song, and they're all incredible.
Yes.
Doesn't need all the other stuff. Not to say that the other stuff is shtick or whatever. I'm just saying that they're almost like two different categories.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
One's an entertainer, and
the other's a singer.
Entertainer of the year. The other one is just, damn it, he's going to get up there and sing you some unbelievable songs, timeless songs.
Yes.
So what are we talking about?
He wants us to
I want you to admit that George Strait is the king of country music.
King George. I mean, you don't get to name King George, by accident.
Do you know that this just came up the other day in my household with my teenage son, and talking about Elvis being the king of rock and roll,
Right.
Michael Jackson being the king of pop, whether you like it or not, and he asked me what about the king of country, and I said, well, they refer to George Strait as King George,
But he's not Elvis. I would, if you were going to make the correlation, I would say Garth
is more Elvis.
is the Elvis
Of course.
of country.
Yes.
I don't know who you would put. I mean, Michael Jackson was also an incredible entertainer.
Yeah.
To me, they're almost all, those guys would all be in the same silo.
Yeah.
And then you just give a guy a guitar and a mic and a cowboy hat, and he's just going to play.
And you're right. Back to those stadium shows.
Stop right there.
He just want to
Stop
hear
with
you
the
say
you're right. I shouldn't have led
I'm going
with
to edit that. I'm going to.
This is now it's a moot
That's
point.
all
right.
we
That's
wanted
right.
to
You're
hear.
right. Okay, well, glad y'all could join us.
This meeting's over.
Right. You sound like me arguing with my wife.
You
No,
got
stop
it.
right there.
No,
You
no,
said
no,
I was
didn't mean
right.
to say that.
Don't
I didn't
say
mean to
but.
say that. No, it's been so long ago, but he was doing the stadium tours long before Kenny Chesney. Kenny Chesney was an opening act for George Strait long before Chesney was doing stadium shows. So it's an arguable point, but I don't sit around and think about it as much as you do. Let's put it like
No
that.
one does. No one does.
Okay.
No one does.
Fair enough.
Like, look, Garth, he's on this stadium tour that he's on now. Yeah, he could put 100,000 people in Neyland Stadium, right?
And he's going to.
And he's going to. But, like,
Yeah.
George Strait did it in the Astrodome how many years?
Sure.
They're two different shows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. One is an experience. The other one is, man, I got to see that guy sing.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'm with you. Back to our traditional roots. Yeah, George Strait and that veteran band of his, the guys that he had for years and years, that was country music, plain and simple.
Hey, I'll tell you somebody else who would do that very same thing. Two people, actually. You take your Don Williams and Conway Twitty. They would stand there flat-footed and just sing you all day long.
Right.
And not, the only thing they would say is after a song, thank you. And then the next song would kick off.
That's right.
So that was, and those were,
And it was okay because you wanted to hear the next song.
you wanted to hear that. I didn't come to hear that this guy,
That's right.
I don't want him to make me laugh. I don't want him to tell me a story. I just want to hear him sing. And,
Right.
So they kind of did what George is doing as well.
Maybe because you all are a duo here, maybe I should ask a solo act. I've never understood how some people go down the band path and some people are solo artists. Like, do they just show up in Nashville by themselves one day and get discovered because they're singing in the Bluebird Cafe or whatever the contemporary thing is? Versus, like, you all grew up playing together and they stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, Diamond Rio, to me, has, like, their harmony is unbelievable, but I think they have, like, 3 solo singers that could have gone their own way.
You know who their lead singer was first, by the way?
No.
Before Marty Rowe?
No.
Ty Herndon.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No way.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I saw Ty Herndon 2001, December of 2001, at Cattle Annie's in Lynchburg.
Right.
Now it's phase 2, but it used to be called Cattle Annie's.
We were there.
I've been there at
Not
Cattle
that
Annie's
show,
before.
but we've been there.
Yeah.
My buddy Steve Bullard, we were in town because we went to see UVA play football on a Saturday. So we came into town. We stayed in Lynchburg at the Days Inn, which is right next to Cattle Annie's, which I
Okay.
think is now dorms for Liberty University.
Okay.
Friday night, we go out to Logan's Steakhouse. My buddy Steve is flirting with the waitress and says, "Hey, tomorrow night we're going to go see Ty Herndon at Cattle Annie's. Why don't you come out and hang out with us?" She goes, "Well, I don't know, whatever." So we go to the UVA game. Then we go to see Ty Herndon. This girl shows up. Liberty University student. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Not a lot of drinking happening at Liberty University.
Right.
Not a lot of staying out past midnight, Liberty University.
Right.
So she calls her roommate and says, "Hey, I need you to cover for me," because they literally had bed checks. She stays out. Ty Herndon didn't even take the stage yet. Ty Herndon did not even take the stage yet. She had 2 Mike's Hard Lemonades. Disappears. She passed out in the bathroom. We thought she left, like that we were just jerks or something, and she didn't want to hang out with us.
Okay.
She literally passed out in the bathroom. Like, in the middle of Ty Herndon performing, some woman comes up and goes, "Is one of you Steve?" Like, "Yeah." "Your friend's in the bathroom." That's my Ty Herndon story.
That's so interesting because I didn't know where that was going, and then it was just it was over.
Then it went.
Right. It was the Ty Herndon story.
There's a little bit more to the story, but we're gonna end it right there.
That's good
Right.
for now.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
That was a really good concert. Speaking of Ty Herndon,
Yeah.
he's got some new music out.
He does.
I think he still sounds great, personally. And I get flack on social media for saying that Tracy Lawrence, I use the word underrated, and people are like, how could Tracy Lawrence be underrated when he's had like 10 number 1 records, and a bunch of other top 10 hits? How could he be underrated? And I guess maybe the word is underappreciated, or he's not held in the same regard as some people that
Sure.
have the same numbers. I kind of feel that way about Ty Herndon. Like, his music in the 90s was really, really good. Great voice.
I don't know, and some of that stuff.
I can't imagine Diamond Rio songs with Ty Herndon, though.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah. There you go. You learned something today. I gotta check, make sure I was right about that.
I hope you
What
didn't
if
make that
what
up.
if this whole thing is wrong?
Yeah.
Right? I got
You could have saved us that whole story about Cattle Annie's and the Liberty
No, I
students.
wouldn't take that back forever.
But back to what I said earlier, everybody has their own story, and you can't explain a lot of it. After the fact, you can go back and look at numbers and see, the song that charted and how long it was on the charts and how many records they sold or millions. See, that totally changed with the technology, and we saw that when we were going to Nashville and trying to get a record deal, and they'd say, well, it's up and down like a roller coaster, and it's a revolution, but it's coming back. And then the next time you go, it's not coming back. And it used to be somebody'd have a good release, and they sold 100,000 units, and now, if they sell 16,000, that's a good week. I mean, it drastically changed with the digital age of how they gauge
Right.
whether it's successful or not.
And now it's I don't even know how they figure out number one songs anymore, because it
I don't
factors
either.
in
Right.
radio, airplay, streams, and downloads. I don't know. I just feel like I know it's apples and oranges, but I feel like, Garth being Garth, the Elvis of country music.
But if it wasn't
his
muddy,
numbers from the old stuff in today's technology, I mean, it would have been astronomical.
yeah,
It was already astronomical.
that's a great gauge. Yeah.
Right.
If it wasn't muddy before, it's only gotten, it's really muddy now.
Because there was a time I think the Beatles had the top 4 songs in America all at the same time, because they just released everything. And Taylor Swift kind of has that now, where you look at the downloads and, all right, she's way ahead of everybody. I feel like Garth would have been that same way.
Yes.
Sure.
Some of those albums, he would have had
Yeah.
5 songs that would have been how did anybody even get to number 1 outside of Alan, Garth, Clint, and George for about a decade?
Yeah.
You had to
Right.
just catch it at just the right time, because Two of a Kind working on a full house got to number 1 because it was Garth Brooks' name next to it, not because it was a great song. You guys didn't write that song, did you? I keep
I
bringing
wish I
that
had
one up.
I really wish I had have. Yeah.
But that song, you literally put any other artist on it, it does not even get released.
Certainly that's true. And that's the momentum of an artist, and that was always that way. Go back from, before Garth Brooks. That was the momentum of an artist, that you could almost guarantee whatever you're going to release next, it would hit.
Yeah.
So that's the way that works. And it always did.
What do you got there?
Just looking. I was just checking.
Ty Herndon?
Oh,
Marty
yeah,
Rowe? Did we come to a conclusion on that?
Oh yeah, he was one of the founding members. Ty Herndon was. 1982.
Wow.
That band,
Hang on.
Diamond Rio got. They're another 89 class, I believe. That was about the time they were the Tennessee River Boys, and then they were a theme park group. But then
Really?
Herndon left and went out on his own, got his solo.
Back to your
Career.
band question. Ty Herndon went to be on his own.
Yeah.
Ty Herndon, how old was he in 1982? In 1982.
Another good song.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Was he 5? Because he doesn't look that old.
That's true. Yeah, I'll have to look that up too.
1982?
Yeah.
Country in the
Yeah.
80s. How did it I mean, you had Kenny Rogers, who was having songs written for him by Lionel Richie. I mean, it was, he was country, air quotes, country, but it was pop music. And I love it, by the way. I'm not putting down Kenny Rogers.
Sure.
Like,
Or
how did
Lionel
it,
Richie.
I wonder how it's even got back to a more traditional sound. I mean, looking at where we are now, after we had the traditional, and again, I'm using modern traditional as the basis.
Of course. Prime country, as they call it now, right?
Is that what it's called?
Well, only on XM,
Yeah.
Sirius
Oh.
XM. Well, no, and we found that out also. We lived through this. So now classic is considered, 70s and before. But if you're talking about 80s and 90s, I don't know if it's traditional, prime, whatever you call it. But yeah, and we're making the distinction of 90s to early 2000.
Right. But I guess by the middle of the 80s, I mean, Ricky Van Shelton, I mean, that's more of a 90s sound.
He has some good stuff.
Randy Travis. I don't know when he initially hit the scene, but by 88, he was already an established star, and that was a more prime country sound at that point. All right, so who didn't make it that you all knew in the business? Like, who who should I know that I don't know?
I don't know that we ever ran across anybody that we felt like should have and didn't. We crossed. I mean, I guess this doesn't say much about us, but we crossed paths with a couple artists before they made it that went on to become big stars. Little Big Town's one of them.
They opened for
They
us.
opened up for us at a show one time.
Nice.
Another one would have been Joe Nichols.
Yeah.
We did a writers thing with him one night in Nashville with stools and microphones, just singing songs we'd written. That was before he ever hit.
Is he out now? Is he still doing stuff?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
I don't know if he's got any new music, but the music he put out was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Great traditional country singer
Yeah.
with good material.
No, it goes back to everybody's got their own story. We just when we were traveling, we heard that Jessica Andrews song on the radio the other day.
About her one big hit
Yes.
Yeah.
about grandma or
Yeah.
That's Who I Am.
That's,
That's Who I Am.
That's Who I Am.
Yeah.
Great song, huge hit. And we're,
right, but isn't
But we knew what you were talking about.
yeah, of course, yeah.
she had a line
I'm
something about
Rosemary's
Yeah.
granddaughter.
thank
That's
you.
it.
That's
Uh-huh.
exactly where I was
That's it.
going with
That's
that. Yes,
it.
that's exactly where I was going.
But no, it's just part of the business, and I'm not sure exactly what her story is or why she left or she was pushed out or couldn't make it or didn't have. Maybe a lot of these people don't have any more. Maybe that's it. You know, I got to a hit record, but there's a lot that goes along with sustaining a career. The sacrifice, the traveling, the
Right.
commitment,
That's I guess
the know-how of not getting pulled in the wrong direction by the wrong person.
right.
To be able to perform on a stage. You know, what we do is so centered in entertaining people. You know, we know a lot, and we have to, whether it's an acoustic show or whether it's a theater show or whether it's an outdoor show, you've got to entertain your audience or know how to get to them or know how to keep them or know how to make friends with people. And I'm just saying genuinely, you've got to know your audience without being cliched.
Right.
And that's true.
Yeah.
So I think with a lot of these people, they were in the right place at the right time, or they got lucky with a song that they wrote, or they got lucky to know the producer and be able to record, but they probably didn't have enough juice to keep it going.
Just like everybody has a different path on how they got to become a star, everybody has a different path on how they were no longer a star. And I imagine there are people who are like, you know what, I'm burned out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I set out to do it. I did it. Maybe it wasn't that great. And they just got out. Or maybe, you know, like they didn't want to be on the road anymore.
There are those stories too.
I think there's plenty of those that they think that's what they want to do.
Right.
And someone says, you got a great voice. And they do. And then they get there and they sing a song and then they realize, oh my gosh, I got to hire a band and I got to rent a bus and I got to be on the road with these people I don't even know necessarily even like. And now and who's this other guy who's going to be managing my money, you know? And so I think all of a sudden they realize, what in the world did I sign up for? And maybe while they're thinking that, their song is just going gangbusters on the radio, and then they think, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this anymore.
So I think what I'm getting ready to tell is relevant because we learned some great funny stories from our dads of all the people that they crossed paths with over the years, and they crossed paths with early country music stars playing locally before they ever made it. I'm talking about back in the early '60s, but I think one of the most fascinating things about country music, and maybe that genre unlike any other, there's so many characters. And I'm not. When I say characters, I say it in an admirable way, you know, in a respectful way. But it's back to personalities is why I think people either stayed or went, because once you have some success, you got to know how to handle it. And I remember them talking about an artist, and it doesn't matter. I don't
name
it doesn't really matter. It was an older country artist.
Can I just sit here and guess?
That had
Sure.
you'll never get it. That had one big hit, but when they would do their stage show, they would open up with the hit record.
You'll never get it.
They would do the hit record in the middle of the show,
Oh my God.
and then they would close their show with the hit record. So that says to me, it was totally up to them how they were going to handle their success. And, you didn't really hear much out of them after that hit record. So, I mean, it's stuff like that. It's personality. Can you handle it or can you not handle it? It's the same way with sports. That happens.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make it to the show, but can you handle staying at the show? And it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always the cliche of it's harder to stay at the top than it is to get to the top, which getting to the top is really hard too. So I can't even imagine what it's like to have to stay at the top.
Right.
Sure.
You mentioned TNN. VH1 from 3 to 4 every afternoon when we were in high school played country music literally from 3 to 4. And then TNN would have some country music. But I feel like guys with videos got different airplay on television than they did on the radio. Like, for instance, we've been talking about George Dukas. Lipstick Promises, I Promise You, got played a lot more on television than it did on the radio. Radney Foster, Nobody Wins. I swear I heard that on VH1 Country constantly, very rarely on the radio. Is it the gatekeeper thing?
It's the gatekeeper thing, but it's also the beginnings of Americana to me, like with Radney Foster. He wasn't mainstream Nashville, but he was talented. So
He was part of a duo too. Y'all remember that?
Foster's and Lloyd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was him
Yeah.
first, and then he went on, and he's written some great songs for other people as well.
So that doesn't surprise me that even back then VH1 was creating a niche for what they wanted, but it wasn't. It was unrelated. Yes, VH1 wasn't out of Nashville, so it's unrelated. They probably think, we discovered this guy,
Right.
so we'll support him. But Nashville's like, he's no Garth Brooks, so we're not going to play it. I mean,
Right.
Yes, I think that's getting caught in the crosshairs.
Yeah. I feel like Hal Ketchum is in that same vein where I remember seeing his videos a lot on television, but not hearing him much on the radio.
Were you watching GAC also? Remember that Great American Country?
Yeah, I didn't get that
was
though
later.
until
CMT?
until the late 90s, I want to say.
But yeah, you're right. All those guys kind of, they hit records or not, were at different levels and stayed at their levels. Hal Ketchum, I was never a huge fan, but those songs are embedded in my head from hearing them on the radio.
you know every word whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Fun story about VH1 Country. So remember when I was saying I didn't have necessarily an obsession with Faith Hill?
Right. You were a very big fan.
Yes.
Huge fan.
I said big. You said very big.
Yes.
I remember.
Yeah. So remember, this was way before YouTube. The internet didn't even exist in households back then.
Right.
I would get home from school knowing that VH1 Country was starting at 3 o'clock and ending at 4. I'd run to the television, turn on the VCR.
It sounded like you said VCR.
What is that?
Turn on the VCR and waited. I have 2 fingers out. You know what that's for?
It's for the
Play and
Paul.
play and record.
Play and record.
Play and
right.
record. She was going to number 1, and every day in that hour they played Faith Hill, Wild One. Boom, play and record. And I'd stop the tape, wait for the next day. Tape's still at the same spot it was. Play and record. Next day, play and record.
You created your own loop. Is that what you're telling me?
I had Wild One like 7 times in a row. I would watch it, rewind it, watch it 7 more times.
I don't think there's anything we can do to help this situation.
Yeah. Is your wife aware of this situation?
This is, listen, like Psy. Remember that guy, the Gangnam Style guy? He got 2 billion plays on YouTube. That's for
Right.
people just playing it over and over and over
That's
again.
true.
I
So
did the same thing.
That behavior.
I did the same thing.
That behavior is no different. It was just on tape.
Right.
Right.
It was on his VHS machine.
And I think the VCR led to your communications future. I mean, I think there's a connection here.
Could be.
There's no doubt.
TNN, they had a show. I don't remember the guy's name. Well, I don't know. Who was some of the hosts in the evening?
Oh, you're thinking about Gary.
No, it was before him. It was an older gentleman.
Ralph Emery?
Ralph Emery?
Was it
Nashville
him?
Now?
Maybe it was Ralph. Maybe it's not. I'm not picturing him. Anyway, Faith Hill, still brand new on the scene. She did his show, or that show, and Larry Stewart had gone solo. He left Restless Heart, and he was on her first album. And they did an appearance together. I guess it was Ralph Emery.
Yeah.
Recorded that.
Two fingers.
2 fingers are out.
Two
Yeah.
fingers.
2 finger fast.
Play
Right.
and record, right?
Play and record. Then she was on a different show. Play and record. And then I asked her to the prom. And that ended
Right.
it. That ended it, by the
Pony.
way.
Then in her ponytail.
Ponytail destroyed it for you forever.
Where's that guy now?
If I find him, I swear, Bob, I will take. Don't even. You know it, man.
We have
She's 9 years older than me.
right.
It wasn't going to work.
Who's counting?
Right.
Right.
But I mean, now, 50's the new 35.
Yeah. She's 9 years older, and she still looks better than you. You know.
Right.
I mean, we've all seen the opening of Sunday Night Football. But by the way, let's just come out and say it. Faith Hill, the opening of Sunday Night Football on NBC,
Right.
better than Carrie Underwood.
Well,
Let's just say it. Let's
certainly
all
coming-
agree.
Certainly
Certainly-
coming from you,
even
I don't
from a
think
man
there's
who got
going to
turned
be any
down
argument.
For
Right.
prom. I
Right.
mean,
I think I said big fan. You said very big fan. I remember. Yeah.
yeah.
No doubt. I will say this: I enjoyed the early days when she
Hank
still
Jr. did it?
sounded. Oh no, I was talking about Faith Hill.
Thought we were talking about football.
When she sang with that twang in her voice before she tried to go and become something that
Well,
was
she had vocal.
cosmopolitan.
She actually had surgery, though.
Yeah, well, that's what she said. It got
Oh
really
my
complicated.
gosh! Wait
It
a
got
minute.
really complicated. She went cosmopolitan. I mean, she was a big deal.
Did you hear me gasp?
Where are you, Christmas? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, some of that.
Some of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I don't take any of that personally.
No, I'm just saying I
Listen,
was a big
this
fan.
is
My,
This is.
I was a
his-
big fan when she was on the scene. I
was a ve-
remember
He was a
as you
very
know,
big fan.
I was a very big fan.
a very big
But
fan. Yeah.
Look, I saw her in concert 9 times. I drove 5 hours to Williamsport, Pennsylvania to see her.
Yeah.
This is his possible future wife in the past.
I
Right,
saw
that you're
her
talking about.
open
Right,
up
right,
for
right,
Alan
right.
Jackson.
Yes.
I saw her open up for Billy Dean in Atlantic City. But it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw her with Tim. That's when I knew. It's over.
it's
Yeah.
done. You saw the way they looked at each other.
Right.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Dancing in the dark.
What she didn't know was that at that moment I moved on.
She doesn't know it. You need to have her on this podcast.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yes. It really would be.
And I'm going to play Where Are You Christmas?
Yeah, we'll call
And say-
somebody.
And say,
They will.
Just breathe. Were you a fan of that stuff?
yeah. Speaking of album liners, have you seen the photographs from that album, that CD?
The cover was pretty strong.
Yeah.
She still had like a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Right.
Okay.
She was still bringing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was like late 30s for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like Nolan Ryan in a Texas uniform. She was still bringing it.
Strong. Strong.
I understand. Yes.
Like Nolan Ryan beating
Robin Ventura.
Ventura's ass.
That's
A guy
yes.
literally half his age.
Yes.
Right.
That's how strong she was.
I understand.
Strong.
Yes.
Chrome.
Yeah.
Chrome.
All right. What stories do you have? Do you have any stories you want to share?
Oh, what stories do we have?
I think.
Who do you want to know about?
Oh my God, everybody! I want to know who this guy was who had one hit, who played at the beginning, middle, and end of a show.
It's not important.
It is not important.
It really is. I'm not protecting him. I'm just saying it's not important to you or anybody that could possibly be listening. It's just not important. Yeah.
It was just a reference. Yeah.
Yep.
He wasn't calling anybody out. Oh man.
No, if you ever have us back, we can go into just stories of celebrities that we've met and where they were, how the impression that we had, good and bad.
That'll be another fun
A what?
podcast.
Ponytail boy? What'd you
Something, I was
say?
still thinking about him.
I can't believe he messed it up between you and Faith Hill. That's ridiculous.
It's an outrage.
Ridiculous.
It's an outrage.
It is.
Has anybody ever yelled anything while you guys were on stage that was just like, it wasn't over the line, like it wasn't profanity, but it just it just hurt. Like, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
A friend of mine, Brian Wilson, we went out and saw, I don't even remember who we saw. It was some
the Beach Boys? You're friends with him?
No. This is a different Brian. The one who was the relief pitcher for San Francisco Giants.
Right. With the beard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're out at some place in Charlotte, and in between songs, like literally the song ends, and they're about to start another song, he yells out, "Play one the drummer knows."
Wow, that's funny.
21 years later, I'm still laughing about him yelling, "Play one the drummer knows." No profanity,
Right.
but that hurts.
Yeah.
That's all right. Drummers take all the abuse. It's
They do.
okay. Yeah.
They're not real musicians.
Yeah. No, we're so good, we don't get those type of hecklers. Yeah. No, I can't think of any heckling that we couldn't handle. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we opened up for George Jones for about 3.5 years. And just the two of us, 2 guitars and 2 of us out there, and we'd go out and do 30 to 40 minutes. And George didn't have stage sound monitors. Everything was in the ears. All of his monitors were the earbuds. So Will and I we always use just regular stage monitors. Well, at that time, so we just went and bought some earbuds and plugged them into our wireless system, and that's what we used. But we didn't necessarily. One of the reasons we never went that route was because if we like to have that interaction and communication, if we need to, with our audience. So if somebody does holler out something to you, if they holler out a request, or if they say something and we can play back to them, we're totally comfortable and confident in doing that. Well, now that we got these, our ears are closed up, and it really felt like there was a wall between you and the audience. Mm-hmm. We did not like it at all. But we even got to on one night, I remember the theater. I can't remember exactly where we were. But I remember being out there, and we could hear them hollering something, and it was a rowdy group, and they were there ready to see George Jones, and we were playing, and I remember we kept looking at each other, and then we were like, "I'm sorry, what?" And then we would take our, an earpiece out,
take one ear out, yeah,
and then like, "Could you say that again, please?" And like, I don't know what. Could you be a little clearer with your diction towards your request? And it was totally awkward. It threw our rhythm off, and we're trying, because that's something we're comfortable doing, is ad-libbing or.
But most artists aren't. They don't. They want that wall,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it's one thing if you're Keith Urban and doing a loud show and all you want to hear is your guitar and your vocals.
That's totally fine.
But when you're 2 guys opening up in front of a George Jones show and you're trying to make them laugh,
Yeah.
you got to have some feedback, Yeah.
And it was tough. And I remember it totally threw our rhythm off the second song. And after that, from then on, we wore the earpieces, but we just wore one.
Yeah.
Just enough to hear my guitar and him. And if anybody else wanted to throw something at us, then I was ready for them. But that was so. Yeah, somebody was hollering something at us.
Just don't know what it was.
But I don't know what it was. It could have been something insulting.
It could have been get off the stage. We want to see
I
George.
want to see the possum.
Yeah, it could have been.
I paid for the possum, not you guys.
Yeah.
Probably what it was.
So, and you know what? So that stuff, definitely opening up for big time artists like that. That's probably more of what you're asking.
Yeah.
That was a challenge every time because nobody knew who we were.
Right.
But we were a great opener because we could warm up an audience, and we make them laugh, and we would have fans after that 30, 40 minutes. We'd go out and sell CDs.
I was gonna say, did you have merch?
We did, yeah. We'd sell CDs and sign autographs and gain fans, but we'd have to start cold every time because nobody knew who we were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And answer that question every night.
Yeah.
About, I don't know, close to 300 times.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's your daddy?
Right.
Who's your daddy?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And it's a good question. They needed to know.
that's right.
I'm shutting this interview down.
Toby Keith, who's your daddy?
Grown.
One more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
In sports, there's some big name people who have children who then go into it. Richard Petty, Kyle Petty, Dale Sr., Dale Jr., Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott. Music, there's not tons of it. Why do you think that is?
You mean as far as the generational thing?
Yeah.
In music in general?
Yeah. The gene passes
Yeah.
down from generation to generation.
Why do I think that is? I'm not sure. I don't know if there is a why to it. Maybe it's just
we were always goes back to that discussion we were having a while ago about it's hard enough to get there and it's even harder to stay. I guess the talent is different.
I think the journey is different too. Like you said, as far as getting there. Not saying that there's other, whether you're Ken Griffey Jr. or Elliott's or whoever.
Or Dale Jr., sure.
Yeah. I'm saying they worked hard for that too, but there's only been maybe a few really successful second generation, and I'm thinking country music here because that's what we're talking about. But whether it's Pam Tillis or Hank Jr., and there's sure some few others I'm leaving out,
but not many. You know what I mean?
Many. I know,
no, not many.
Yeah.
You're right.
Now we can name you some other second generation acts, but that are not necessarily on their status.
Of course, then again, I also don't know who the people who did become stars. Maybe their dad or their mother was in music too, just didn't hit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's that possibility too.
Sure, and I see it all the time too, and you see it even with politicians. They were raised by politician parents or lawyers who were raised by lawyers, and so there is a big correlation there. But back to the success rate of entertainers, I'd say because it's really hard because you can't hand it off. I've had that discussion with my dad more than once. And he said, it'd be different if we were in a law firm and I could put your name on the sign and you carry on the tradition.
Then you hand the ball off.
And you hand the ball off.
Right.
And whether you're a really good lawyer or you're not, you can still hand the ball off. You can still go to school, become a lawyer if you're smart enough, right? There's no handing the ball off in the music industry, You got to, it starts basics. You got to be able to sing. You got to be able to maybe play. You got to be able to entertain, have something to offer. But there's a lot of levels to being able to, I guess, pull it off. Hey, in your business, it's the same way. You're comfortable behind the camera in your line of work, and you know what's expected of you, and there's a professionalism that goes along with it to be able to do your job every day. Think about all the people friends, family, acquaintances that freeze up in front of a camera.
Right.
That's not a possibility.
Right.
It's like I'm gonna have to beg on the street because I'm not. I cannot. It's. I don't know what makes you different and us different, but there's a difference.
Can you see one of your kids, what you show them, what you do, how well you do your craft, and them saying, "Yeah, I get it, Dad, but I don't think I want to do that." Is that more realistic than them saying, "Absolutely, no matter what, you've taught me everything you know, and I'm going to do this just as good as you do"?
Yeah, generationally, my personality is different than my parents' personality. My kids, to use that same line, they're growing up watching YouTube, and everybody's a YouTube star to them.
Right.
And all you need is a camera, and you just talk to the camera. So
Gotcha.
there's no there's no more gatekeepers, right? With the internet. So.
No, and that did it the same way with the music too. It I don't know, dilutes the craft. I don't know, is that accurate?
It opens doors.
Well, but everybody
it levels the playing field.
Yeah. No, it does, but I still think it separates the men from the boys as to who's gonna make a success out of it.
Yeah. Speaking of second generation stuff, Kitty Wells was Faith Hill's mother.
No,
I'm just making that up.
He just made that up.
I'm sorry. I was serious about the Ty Herndon thing.
Yeah.
See, I don't believe you now.
But no, I just made up the Kitty Wells and Faith Hill thing.
Yeah.
That
yes.
That was fake news. Don't
listen to Langdon. He's delirious. Yeah.
My craft has been diluted.
All right, what do you want to tell people? How can they reach you? How can they find your music?
Well, first start is wilsonfairchild.com. That's
We're on the
website. We're there all the time. We're Wilson Fairchild on Facebook with our Blue Room sessions, and we put out videos every week, a growing audience, and we share words of wisdom plus an acoustic song. We also have our own YouTube channel that we have all kinds of content up. People can follow us there. We're like everybody else. We just like to rock out.
And you got a girl who helps you out on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. All social media. Yeah.
Yeah. She does Twitter and Instagram.
We have Twitter
I don't
and
like
Instagram,
those.
but Langdon doesn't like that format
No,
because
you
you
can't
can't
zoom.
enlarge it.
You can't enlarge the Instagram picture and hold it.
Yeah, he's old. We're on the iTunes also, Amazon Music, Spotify, wherever music's listened to, you can find Wilson Fairchild.
Okay. What about Pandora?
We're there too.
Are you? Mm-hmm. I'm on every podcast outlet except for Pandora. It's still in review. It's been 2 weeks. What are they reviewing?
Really?
iTunes signed off immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google Podcasts like 2 days later. Pandora? What are they doing?
I have no idea.
I mean, I get it was Labor Day.
Yeah, maybe they know about your past.
Do they got ponytail guys running?
Do you
Pandora?
think they know about Faith Hill?
I bet he's
That
reviewing
ponytail guy.
The ponytail guy
in the satin jacket.
is reviewing on Pandora. That's exactly
He's
what
holding
it is.
this whole thing up.
Bob, I'm sorry.
I just figured it out.
I am so sorry.
This meeting's over.
That was a blast. I will definitely be sitting down with Will and Langdon again. They are so much fun to be with. If you're new to Wilson Fairchild's music, definitely give them a listen. They're super talented, and they're recording songs that have a great traditional feel to them. You will love it. If you're already a Wilson Fairchild fan and that's how you found this podcast, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was good enough to earn a subscribe from you. So many more topics are lined up, and I cannot wait to keep this content rolling. That's going to do it for this edition of Country Music Memories. I am Bob Grebe. I'm going to leave you with a really fun Wilson Fairchild song. It's called Stuck.
It's rained 5 days and washed out the road. Daddy's in a ditch and he can't get towed. Mama ain't worried, she knows what to do. She's got an old truck but could use a canoe. The pond overflowed and the creek got high. But she ain't worried, she's got four-wheel drive. So we piled in and pulled out of the shed. Kids in the cabin, dogs in the bed. But we can't pick Daddy up. Mama got the truck stuck. Oh, it's happened before, and it'll happen again. Mama knows how to drive, but she don't know how to swim. And we can't pick Daddy up. Mama got the truck stuck. Got real muddy running back to the house. Mama went to the barn, got the tractor out. Popping the clutch and grinding gears. Swearing like a foul-mouthed auctioneer. She stopped by the shed, got an old log chain. Got down in the mud, hooked it to the frame. I yelled out, Mama, don't even try. She said, don't worry, baby, it's four-wheel drive. But we still can't pick Daddy up. Now Mama's got the tractor stuck. Oh, it's happened before, and it'll happen again. Mama knows how to drive, but she don't know how to swim. We still can't pick Daddy up, 'cause Mama got the truck stuck. Until it all dries up. Daddy's plumb out of luck, 'cause Mom got the truck stuck.
Ain't it funny